Shani. Welcome, everybody. Yes, we're going to talk today about customer portal, and I'm trying to put it, give it an angle of being a project manager's assistant, because with some setup, it can really become project manager's assistant and take a lot of the project manager's work out of their hands. So what's today? What's the focus for today? So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about what customer portal is, how customer portal journey works, and then we're going to see how we can use it. So there are at least two different ways of using it. That actually, if you think about the different varieties, it could be even more. Then we're going to talk about the template setup. So what needs to be set up first, and also the project IDs. That is the kind of important to understand and to find projects easily, both in the request site and in the list of projects. And then we're going to talk about how to set up the portal so that it works for you. There's actually quite a lot of preparation needed at the very beginning, but it can really, really pay off in the long run. And then, of course, we're going to see portal in action. Now, we go into first just to focus a little bit on the customer portal basics. So what is it? In general terms, it's a place where either an internal customer, so for example, a department in a company, or an external customer can log in to submit their documents for translation. It can be set up to only provide quotes for the customer. It can be set up to automatically create those quotes, or just ask or sort of wait for the project manager to create this quote. And then it's also possible to automatically create projects. And this part is the one that when I'm thinking about when I mentioned, let's say, project manager's assistant, because with automatic project creation, there's quite a lot that can be done here. And we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to show you some bits and pieces around that. Now, the templates. We have talked today a little bit about templates. I mean, I have talked about the templates when we mentioned Content Connector, and I was not the only one, of course, to talk about that. But basically, templates are at the core of memoQ, and how projects are created and how projects are managed. So what is needed here, and why are templates so important? So, and again, I'm going to repeat myself from the previous webinar, but I wanted to sort of say it again. A project is, as a set of a long list of stages or actions that have to be performed along the way, and the automatic templates, they can help a lot to automate at least some of those elements. So, what is the setup needed for the actual customer portal? So the setup is actually quite complex at the very beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it actually becomes quite easy. So first of all, we will need to set up the templates. Why am I starting with this? Because the templates will actually be very important in the way how you define services for your customers. So you can imagine the customer portal being, a place where the customer logs in. I'll show you that in a moment, and they can simply choose the service they want to order or they want a quote for. You can define different prices for those, or you can simply just forget about the prices if it's just an internal customer, and give you the number of words that need to be translated. But the template itself will be important because it will generally be linked to the service, and the service will use this template to import documents, to assign those documents to translators, to pre-translate those documents in a particular way, and generally will be responsible for the whole workflow that will follow. So the template setup is very important because, as I said, it's at the core here, and that it's connected to all the services that will be defined in customer portal. The next setup will be, the next part of the setup would be the portal itself. So in this, what I mean by this, we will have to set up the languages that you offer. So the language pairs in as a consequence, really. The logins, I mean, how people are going to get logins, the customers, and services. So all the elements of what you need to have to allow your customers send documents for translation. Then it's time to let the customers in. So the customers will submit the jobs. And here we will talk a little bit about notes, how to use notes for better visibility in the dashboard, and to allow you to find jobs more easily. Now, what else can we do here? The next part would be just managing your projects. So these projects will require some attention, not just the projects, but also the offers, the requests from customers. But basically, they will be just there for you to have a look and make sure that you are handling them and they are delivered to your customers. So let's see what we have here in the customer portal. So customer portal actually is accessed through the memoQ web. So once you log into memoQ web, and then you go to the customer portal, then you go to the admin page, right? You'll have access to the customer portal settings. So the customers, services, branding, and offer settings can be defined here. What are these? Let's just have a quick look at this. Okay, we'll get back to this in a moment when we go, because I wanted to go through the templates, but to understand templates, to setting up templates might be easier in this case when you first understand how this is all set up. So the customers are actually like departments, really, or groups, let's say, of contact people. So one customer can have multiple contacts in them. So let's say I have department A, and I would have a few, users here. These users could be requesters, could be managers, could be observers. So there are 3 different roles they could have. But generally, the requester is usually, for most of those situations, is enough. Sometimes the manager is more appropriate. There are slight differences in what they can do, but generally the requester, let's say, is the right one if you want to allow someone to request translations. And every customer will have assigned project managers, so there will be a project manager assigned to this person. And there will be also services assigned to a particular customer. So you can actually you can have some services only assigned to particular customers. Now, when we go back to the admin page, we also have services. So here again, you can define services. These could be all services that you offer. So these would be like all the possible. Here I have just 5 set up, like translation only, translation and review, translation, editing, proofreading, just review, machine translation, post editing. How you name them is really up to you. These are just those that will be visible to the customer. As you can see, there's a template behind them and the languages that actually come from the template. So they would be, this is what is set up. And then you can decide whether this is set up for all customers or only for some. Branding allows you to change the way customer portal is going to look. And also offer settings allow you to define expiry date for offers and additional warning when the expiry is near. So that's something you can set up here as well. But let's get to now to show you the customer portal itself. So what it looks like. So that's what the customer portal looks like. It can be, as I said, the way it looks can be different. You can put your own logo here. You can put your own colors, at least some of them, right? Okay, and then that way you'll be able to make it look like it is your own portal. You can, of course, go through all the different categories here, like generally the dashboard where you can see everything, then the quotes, projects in progress, finished projects, and canceled projects. And here on the right, that's the most important bit when you can request quote or translation. But before we go through that, okay, we go and request a quote or translation. Let's have a look at those templates that I mentioned. So as you know, the templates cannot be right now cannot be accessed through the memoQ web. So we will need to use our resource console and our memoQ desktop. So I've created those 5 templates. And I will be honest here, okay, I have tweaked them a little bit to allow a certain additional option, but I will tell you that in a moment. So let's say we have a customer portal translation only. I'm going to edit this one, and here just a few notes how this is set up and what needs to be done here and what you need to remember about. So first of all, the project naming convention. You can use the project name, or you can use the project, metadata to be inserted at the beginning of the project or any other place. And I'm generally, this is not necessary, of course, but this is one of the way to keep track of, make it easier for yourself to match projects with requests. Because when the customer is going to create a request for translation, then this request will get an ID, and this ID will be actually later once the project is actually created. This ID will be inserted into the metadata field for project. So if you're going to use the project name here, it will actually take the request ID into the name of the project. That way, it will be easier for you to find this project. Of course, you could just use the project metadata fields to find this project. That's also absolutely okay. But it sometimes might be easier to just have it exactly directly in the name as well. So that's just like a tip, okay, what you can do, because you can't see anything here right now, but just believe me that this will come in here when the project is created. It will come from customer portal, and the ID will just be put into this place. If you put something here as different, then this will be used instead of the data from customer portal, and then it will be might be more difficult to find the project itself. So as you can see, we have some languages already defined here in this project, right? So we could see these languages will also be defined in the customer portal. Will be used for the projects. We have some setup for translation memories, and we also have some setup for some naming conventions where we use the project again, and we use the client for the master translation. And then we also have term bases using the client metadata field. In the settings, we can define again how memoQ will, how the project will behave, or for every target language. We could define let's say, machine translation here. We could define auto translation rules if needed. Angelica just talked about this a moment ago. So all these elements can be defined per language. And on top of that, of course, you can also define what kind of filters should be used for particular file types. So this is, again, something that can be set up here. And then on top of that, we could have people defined and their roles as well. When we look at the language roles, we will see that there are different ways of assigning this. Most of that is actually assigned directly, but then we have, so text into German will always be sent as first accept, because we have 3 translators, for example, into German. And that way, this will be sent to all of them, and they will be able to accept or reject it. Now, automated actions. This is the part that is also important here. Again, I choose to launch the project automatically because I'm using automatic assignment, but of course, you can launch the project manually. The most important thing to remember about is that analysis report has to be created either during pre-translation as part of statistics, or as a separate action here in the report. Otherwise, the quote will not be able. memoQ customer portal will not be able to create and offer, and that might be tricky then later on to handle. So in the template, always remember to create statistics, either through the pre-translation or through the analysis. This can also happen now after re-input. When we think about re-input, we could also define, what happens after re-input. We could have another round of statistics here as well. So create analysis report. And that way we will get a new analysis in the project after the X translation. So this would also be important to do here. Now, how is re-input even possible with Customer Portal? That's something that I will show a little bit later. It doesn't happen through Customer Portal really, so it has to happen manually by the project manager, but it's still possible. So that's something that can be done simply by sending the files to the project manager. Now, this is the part that is actually tweaked in this template. So normally this is not possible to deliver the Customer Portal after the documents complete workflow directly. It can only be done at the very end. So the delivery comes with the manual push. This can be tweaked. I mean, if I'm not going to show you the direct way to do that, but if you're interested, just please contact us. We'll be happy to share. Now, what happens here is that when you create the workflow, the documents are delivered automatically after the workflow is completed. What it means is that when, for example, this just translation is delivered, memoQ will deliver this to the Customer Portal. Now, there's an important bit of information here. All documents need to complete the workflow. Theoretically, it's possible to deliver with just if one document's complete workflow, but the function inside the code of this function to the delivery, right? This action of delivery to Customer Portal always delivers all documents at once. So even if you choose deliver, if you tweak this template to deliver after just one document, it would still deliver all documents, translated or not. So that is why it's always best to just do it at the situation where all documents are complete the workflow. It's one of the or of course you can just simply use it with Customer Portal has been delivered, project has been delivered, and then it automatically pushes this to Customer Portal as well. But then it means the project has been delivered, right? So we mean all files in the project. Now there's a question. Let me just have a look. Can you do it the other way around to use my manually assigned project, which follows a certain nomenclature, and rename the project in the portal? No, that would be. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, Birgit, but I don't think that would be possible. Can I specify the way customer requests in Customer Portal are named in order to support matching requests with actual project names? Yeah, anyway, let me just show you how we would create this project. So let's, we'll go back to the setup, okay, of Customer Portal, but let me just show you how we can create a project right away. And we will then have some more rounds of projects back and forth, and also some bits of setup. So I'm going to request a quote or translation. So I'm going to choose, let's say, English United States into French. I could choose several languages here, let's say German as well. I could use all of the languages that I have, or just some, so I don't have to use all of them necessarily. Then I can choose the service that is available to me. Let's say I'm going to use translation and revision, and I'm going to choose a workflow. So we have those three possible workflows here. So I'm trying to explain this from the customer side, but then later on we will see it from the project manager's side, or the administrator side, really. So the PM created quote basically sends the files to the project manager into memoQ Web, and then it can be either the whole project can be created manually by the project manager, so that's possible, and then in that way there is some manual work possible here, or it will be created automatically by memoQ server, and then the automatic quote. But the quote will be created by the project manager, and they will send the quote. Now, the automatic quote will be created automatically, so the customer will see the quote based on the analysis of the project automatically right away, as soon as the analysis is, statistics is done. So without the intervention of the project manager. And then the last part, when we have the automatic project, this is the part where everything can be automated. So the whole project can be automated. The project will be created automatically according to the template. So let's create the project automatically to show you how this would work. Let me just import a file into this project. As you can see, you can also upload reference files. What can they be? What will happen to those files actually? So these files will be imported into LiveDocs. So if the customer has a previous bilingual version of the document, like an XLIF, or they have a previous, I don't know, a TMX, for example, in this language pair, they can drag and drop it here as well. And then if this is an XLIF or if this is a TMX file, they will be automatically used for pre-translation as well. So that way, if customer has some legacy, materials like that, they can be used to leverage the translation memories, leverage the translation. Now, what is important in those fields here, because we have the message to project manager and then notes to yourself. What are these and why they could be really useful? First of all, this is the instruction for the project manager. So we'll give them some information. Okay, what needs to be done. This could be just information about the type of project, for example. Okay, but it could be just information like I need it ASAP. Right? Of course, it doesn't mean anything. Like, for example, tomorrow. And then note to yourself. Why is this note to yourself important? Because the projects will be listed here as with automatic names. So the name is composed of 6 digits, which represent the date, and then 3 random characters. And then this constitutes the name of the quote. Now, sometimes it might be not really, really easy to find out what this really stands for. I mean, to find out the projects and so on. So that's why you have the note to yourself. And the note to yourself, this is the place where you can put some information. So I don't know, internal information, like PO number, for example, but it could also be, for example, information about what type of project is there, or the project or the file name, let's say, right? Okay, so let's say brochure. Okay, so you know that this is for memoQ, for example. Then you request a deadline, 3 working days, for example, and then you start. When we go to continue, this will first appear here, right? But very quickly after this is, done, it will go into the state in progress. So if we can actually, as you can see, this is the name of the project. So not the project, but the name of the request, say, right? So 210713, today's date. So last 2 digits of the year, month, and day, and then 3 random digits. Now, if we go to our project list or request offers, we will see this request offer here. We will see this little one, this little bubble with the note to the project manager saying, okay, I need ASAP tomorrow, okay? We already see a preliminary quote, right, from taken from the service that we set up. And if we open this request, we will also be able to open the project immediately in memoQ Web or in memoQ Desktop. It's up to us. So let's say we want to open this in memoQ Web. And you can see that the project is named first with the quote ID and then with the template name, right? So this is the template name. This is how I set it up. But you can define how the project is going to be named in the template. So to answer the question, right, can I specify the way customer requests in the customer portal are named in order to support matching requests with actual project names? It's actually the other way around, really, right? So the customer requests in customer portal are named automatically, but the projects can be named using this information. So as I said, you can use the project metadata because this is where it is stored. When we go to the settings of the project and we have general, we will see that this is the name and the project metadata. as you can see, stores the information about the project ID, or the request ID, really. If you go to your projects, you will also have some additional information here. So if you hover over this additional information, you will see that this customer portal quote ID and also gives you this number. Or this value, the string, right? So this name of the quote. So these are the places where you can actually look for those. If you want to find a particular number, if you're not going to use the customer portal quote ID in the project's name, right? To find it, you can use the filters. And then you can use in the filters, you can just type in the request number. So here we have the request. If we use this one, it will just show us this filter here. Otherwise, it's not possible to find it that easily. Yes, so theoretically speaking, would it be now possible to export the translated file after finishing the workflow to a PDF and deliver it to the customer portal? Yes, it would be possible. What needs to be done? I will show you that probably in a moment. So what we have seen right now, okay, is that we have this project created automatically. We have these files imported here automatically. Let me just maybe, yeah. So we have this file, also imported images. That's because we didn't define really the import filter well, but this allows us to see that there's the French document for translation. It assigned the translator and assigned the second reviewer, because this was translation plus review. So it automatically did the assignment according to our template. Now, as soon as the project is completed, so they will deliver, right, then the documents will be, all those documents, right, will be delivered to the customer. But it's possible also to deliver those projects manually. And to answer Birgit's question, if you have a project that you want to deliver to customer portal, you want to deliver also external files, right? Then, right now this is not possible, but normally you can also upload external files and deliver with external files. So you could first download those files, transform them to a PDF, and then upload the PDF and deliver to the customer. Are different file formats automatically recognized when importing from the portal and the corresponding defined filters? Yes, this is the part where which you need to define in the template. So just to show you how this would work, let's go to our resource console, and let's use the translation only this time. And let's create some, and let me show you where we would change this. So in the settings, in the language independent resources, you can define a particular filter for a particular path of file name rule, right? So usually this would be for an extension, for example, right? So all files with a particular extension would follow a particular filter configuration. So this allows you to basically create first different kinds of import filters and then put them already here. So if you have a custom filter for the customer, let's say, I don't know, Excel file or an XML file or a Word file even, I don't know, importing comments, for example, then this can be applied here. Can proposed deadline requests be changed in customer portal setup? This is currently there. We would need to look at this if this is something that could be sort of tweaked, but normally I wouldn't say so. I think this is the default. You can also just simply set up your own date, right? So you don't need to choose. I know that this is about a particular deadlines you want to request here, but if this is supposed to be a very particular, right, then you can always change the date yourself, right? So you can put a particular date that you need. And then later on, when you go into your quotes, you can also request a new deadline. Now, when we're talking about deadlines, just a short note. This deadline, okay, is the deadline between the requester, so between the customer, and the project manager. it's not the same deadline as between the project manager and the linguists. So the linguist might have a totally different deadline, a shorter one or a longer one, right? Okay, and then the PM has to negotiate with the customer the deadline. So that's something very important, because it's very often comes up as something people think that, okay, the deadline that is requested by the customer should be the deadline for the translators. No, it's actually two different things, and that's why you have the project manager in the middle. So the project manager sort of decides, okay, or negotiates those different deadlines and tries to tell the customer, okay, look, this is not possible in 2 days, we need 3, right? And then there has to be some negotiation between them. Yes, the question, brochure framework, where is this? If you go to the projects in progress, to the list of progress, you will see this note here in this column. Okay, so in the column note, and you'll be able to find this project here. If you click on this project, if you click on the eye, then be able to see this project. If you click on the envelope, then you will contact the project manager that is assigned to this to you, right, to the customer. But this note really allows you to identify your project. So I would say this is one of those elements that should be used, because otherwise it might be difficult to distinguish. The filtering would also work if you change the project name to your own nomenclature by including the portal's ID in the name. Yeah, of course you could change this, and the filtering itself would probably work with the particular name of the metadata, for example. So yes. How can quotes, PDF, email for the project be generated here? They're not really. There will be. This is something that will be visible here in the customer portal. There is a message, right? Also will be sent to the project manager, right, or to the customer as well, right? So there will be some information, but you cannot generate a quote like a PDF. You cannot generate a PDF just like that from inside the customer portal. It's more like for the use inside the portal. Question again: if there are more than one file in project but partial delivery is needed, is there a possibility to deliver complete documents only via portal? It's actually not. I mean, you can deliver, and then you can deliver again, but then it would override the first delivery. So you could deliver early, but you would still deliver all documents. So then the customer will have to find, let's say, particular target languages among those that have been finished. And then once this is, when everything is ready, then it will be delivered again, and it will override the translations that were delivered first. So theoretically it's possible, but if you need some early delivery, then it's probably better to just export them from inside memoQ first. No, it's not possible to generate POs. This is basically just a very general general portal to create some kind of first-hand information on the projects, but it's not used to create full-blown project POs or invoices for that matter, right? It's just there to provide basic information on the projects, more like an estimate, really. Now, just going back to the setup a little bit, because we have seen how this can work, right? And you can imagine a situation where you have, especially when you have an enterprise with several departments, and then you have a translation team, and the translation team doesn't really have a project manager. I mean, they have someone who sort of is a project manager, but they normally just translate. And this could actually help with the automatic project setup. You could automatically assign everything to translators within the team, and then when they deliver, this could get delivered to the internal customers. Now, let me show you the setup for the customer portal. There are several elements here. For example, what we need to set up first is actually in the server administrator. So there is a section customer portal. And in this customer portal section here, we need to define the source languages that we offer and the target languages that we offer. So we can choose that we offer the languages here that we offer, and choose the source and target languages. then we will be able to see the target languages from English, let's say, into United States. So you can create language pairs here. And then what we also define is the sign up. So can people in the company or external, okay, create usernames for themselves? And then we have two modes. One of them is sort of suggested for agencies and LSPs most of the time. So the new contacts cannot sign up themselves. So it will be the administrator that will add them in memoQ Web. And so this is something that doesn't have to be like that, of course. If you trust your customers, then you can just allow them to create their own users. And then it's possible for the other way is to what I said a moment ago. The contacts can sign up themselves, and then again another possibility whether the contacts have to be approved, which is usually the preferred way, or can they be activated instantly. So they would just get a link to the login and to confirm the password and so on. Again, all this setup is very particular, and you need to make sure that you know what you're doing here. Normally, I would say it's probably better to create those contacts for your customers, but if you have an internal, let's say if this portal is actually meant to work internally, then signing up, allowing people to sign up themselves is generally okay. So this is the first part of the setup. Now, the second part of the setup actually happens in memoQ Web. So we have to go to memoQ Web and to admin. And as I said, we need to choose we have the customers. Then for every customer, we need to assign a project manager. And then we also assign the services. That's what we talked about. Now, how are services set up? So this is the place where we can create our own services and also link a service to a template. Let me just show you. So inside the definition of a service, we have the service name and the description. And then the most important element is the template. So once we use the template here, okay, then it will also take the languages defined in the template here. And that will also allow us to define, for example, rates for a language pair. You could create your own currency here, right? I have just euro, but it could be, I don't know, US dollars or Japanese yen, for example, and you could create the ones that you need. So the prices can be enabled or disabled. For example, for internal purposes, it might not be necessary, so you can disable that. And then we have the workflow types that will be available for this service to the customer. And as I said, we have those three basic modes. So the project manager created offer, we have the automatic offer, and we also have the automatic project. If for internal use, you could actually sometimes only have automatic project, because automatic project would allow you to create create project automatically, assign them automatically, and just forget all about it. So these are the services, and they are, as I said, they are assigned to a particular customer or available to all customers. Now, once this is all done, so we have all these elements, right? So then the whole process of requesting translations is can start. So let me just show you maybe a situation where we have customer portal, yeah, back here. Let's create a new quote translation. Okay, and this time around with some reference files, just to show you how this would work. So let's say English United States. I mean, let's go into French and Italian, and I'm going to have translation only, and I'm going to use, for example, automatic project. I have some XLIF file that translated previously, and I have this new this is just for French, and then I have the same file for translation. I'm going to use some information here. For example, note to yourself, this is a brochure. with reference, for example. What will happen then, let's say a week from now, and let's start. When we go to the desktop application, let me just close this one and just refresh. This will be our new project, right? And when we open this project, we'll see this French Italian. I'll just turn off the autopilot and we will see, okay, I've got some translations and we have some translation memories, of course, just like we defined. And then we also have live docs suddenly. And the live docs will now include a position called reference files and the quote ID. And as you can see, it also includes the XLIF file that was imported into this project. Now, if we go back to the customer portal, okay, and we go to in progress, we will see this is our project. We will see now that there are quite a few 101% matches. These come from the XLIF that was uploaded. If we want to see detailed progress, then we'll be able to see on those files. This would be like 0 words because everything has been translated from the XLIF file. Now, what happens if suddenly the customer realizes, okay, we just got the wrong file. It was not the one that we were supposed to send. There's a different one. What can we do? So they send the file by email to the project manager. The project manager can go simply to the project. We'll go to this, let's say, Sego's all those projects. That's one. They will go to translations, and they will now know, okay, there's a French file there's another file that should be re-imported. Okay, so we just select the file here. I'm going to re-import, and I'm going to click browse, so I could just drag and drop, and I have a new version of this file. I'm just going to drag and drop it. It will be re-imported for both French and Italian, and then I can click import all. The file gets re-imported, and there we go. And we can now also, so we can go to reports, and we can create a new report. Or actually, we have already created this report after the re-import. So if we go to our requests and we go to our project now, to our requests, we will see that this is the quote, this is the cost that was estimated based on the initial quote. But the latest project statistics, okay, tell us, okay, that we have something more. We have a shorter document, and it actually will cost less. So we can update the offer from the latest project statistics, and it will change here. Now, when the project goes back to the customer portal, and we'll see the project in here, they will also see that the number of words and the cost here changed, right? So this will be updated after the project manager updates the project. And this file will still be able to be delivered in customer portal. The match breakdown discounts in the rates. This is defined on the server level, right? So there is just one breakdown of discounts. And this can be defined in the server resources. Let me just show you. Yep. So if you go to server administrator, right, then you have the weighted counts that you would be using. So you can adapt it here, and then it will also apply to the rates. How can you clear up the list of projects under projects in memoQ Web? Yeah, you can simply start archiving or put them in the into the bin if you like. I mean, the bin can be also later on you can just put them out of the bin, but you can archive the projects from here as well. So if there's something that is, let's say, old, it's not really going to be used, and you can simply delete it. But then you can also put it into archives. and then it's let's say this name, and then this project will be archived. You can find this project later on in files. So if you go to files, you'll be able to see all your different projects, file names. If you actually find the archives, in the archives, thing is still being put there, so that's why we can't see it right now. Okay, but basically you'll be able to find it there. Now, going back to our projects, yeah, we're getting close to the end of the session. Let me just see some of the questions. Is it possible to generate statistics based on the requests, like how many requests in a week, how many words in a month, who are my main requesters? Well, in a way, yes. What you would need to do is use something that is in memoQ desktop, which is called the project report. Now, what do you do with, how can you to generate a project report? So imagine you have a list of projects that follow a particular, let's say, a naming convention. Let's say we have those three, or you could simply select all of them, and then what you can do, you can create project report. Now, the project report allows you to, let's say, include all the importing user time of import. That's not necessarily important here. Separate lines for different versions of documents, again, might not be relevant in this case. But basically, when you create this report, it will include all the different kinds of information, and this would allow you to, for example, group this by different categories. Now, we haven't used that much of, for example, in the name of the project, we haven't used the client's name, right? But this is something that you could do. This could come from the metadata, or this could come from a template's name. So you could have separate template for every customer, and then the information about the customer would be in the name, or you can simply use the metadata, and when that's where you store the information. When we think about the project report, is just a very big Excel file that includes a lot of information about the project. Let me just show you. Okay, that's what it looks like. So this allows you to, for example, if you're going to use the client field name for every customer separately, that you could filter those projects here by the customer name. And that way you'll be able to simply find all the different projects, all the different files, or the different, let's say, even volumes, right, per customer, per date. So you would be able to just create your own filters inside, or even, your own charts, right, inside Excel, using the data here as the reference point. The wrap-up function affect the project on customer portal. Well, the wrap-up function would not really. I mean, it can be linked to the actions in the template, right? But the wrap-up function just basically sort of deactivates the project, right? So this means you no longer see the progress, right? You no longer see what's going on with the project. So, but it doesn't really necessarily do anything else. So if you have the wrap-up function, it's not, I mean, it depends. If you're going to use this, usually it's good to assign a particular function to it, like, I don't know, remove, let's say, working translation memories, or maybe update the master translation memory. And that way, to have some additional functionality apart from just wrapping up in general. So just to sum up, if you have a department, a translation department, for example, in your company, or if you have a set of, group of translators, customers, external or internal, right, that would need to be assigned to translators directly, right, then Customer Portal can actually bypass the project manager with the automatic project creation. And if you tweak the template a little bit, then it also allows the translators after, for example, the second review, so when the document workflow is completed, to deliver the whole translation to the customer. That way, the project manager is there generally to monitor, but doesn't necessarily have to create the projects, import the files, exchange information. Well, they will still have to sort of act on some information or some changes to the project, or maybe the deadlines and so on. But the whole setup of the project, the whole input of the files, everything here would be done automatically by the customer portal and memoQ server. And this would be it could be a great way to improve your workflows and simply just to streamline some of them, or simply speed them up, so that you don't have to worry about all those different elements. Sometimes you have to find your way around it, but it could be a good start to manage your internal requests, for example. Now, if there are any, let me just go through the questions one more time. If there's something I missed. How do I hide exclude quotes prices if I'm using the portal with my internal stakeholders? Well, I would generally create separate services for internal stakeholders and separate services for external stakeholders. And then within the setup of a service, you can decide that the prices are disabled. When the prices are disabled, this is for translation only, right? So if we create now a request using the translation, let's say English to French, then we could use translation only. Let's say automatic project, drag and drop the file for translation. Okay. 3 working days start. Then when we go to the quotes, actually it's going to be in progress in a moment. Okay, here we go. You will only see the number of words, so there won't be any information about the price, and that's usually enough for information. If all. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to show you. This is like a final dot, because some people request not just, especially internally, not just translation and review, or I don't know, machine translation, post editing, but they just want review. Now, this is not always possible with all languages, but let's say you have some languages that have language varieties. What you can set up is something that would be called like an review from English to English, right? So what you can do is you can have a source language, will be like a general English, and then create a target language, would be English United States. memoQ automatically recognizes only one service for that, so it's called review only. And then we have type of workflow. Let's say we have the automatic project for this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just just drag and drop this particular file, assign next working day, and I would say the review, let's say rev only, and just to make sure that the PM knows that as well, I would say rev only, and I said, okay, start. Let's go to our projects and let's see what happens. So we have this this one. I think this is the one. Okay. This is retranslation only. Let's see whether this got created or not. Maybe it would be here already in the projects. Yeah, here we have the projects here. Now, what happened is that the project got imported from English to English US, and the template was set up to copy the text immediately from the source to the target. So we have exactly the same text. So now the translator can review this document. There's no translation memory here even, because we don't need one. It doesn't make sense, right? But you could add terminology here just to check if you're using the right terminology, or to find translations of words that you have used, for example, into other languages if you have that. But that could allow you to create a reviewed version of the document. Once this is ready and sent back to the customer, then customer can submit this one more time, but this time as, for example, for translation. So this is just a way to review the original copy first. Like for technical writers, right? They want someone to have a look at this and just, trim this a little bit. And this would be a way to review the file first before it is sent later for translation.
Just looking at you, Philip. Shall we call it a day?
Yeah, I think that's okay. If we don't have any more questions, if we could have some additional information, then we could. You could ask some additional question. I know that Kevin is saying that we could have a translation memory in this kind of review as well. Yeah, sure, of course. It could be used for yeah, as you said, tracking bad usage, for example. Yeah, sure, we could do that just to see how we improved the text in the past. That could be quite interesting to see that. But it's just another way of using that.
Okay, perfect. Philip, thank you so much for the great session, and thank you all for your contribution today. Take care and bye.